Yeah, welcome. This is another business to business webinar series. And this is a series that was based on, there we go. This was a series based on the book that we compiled. Jackie Thompson, one of the committee members, compiled the book. She got together business leaders that have already done the work. They've already done and succeeded. And it was about collaborating and putting together their thoughts down on paper and starting to share some of those lessons they've learned. And we've had some really, really good stuff. And when COVID hit, we thought this is a great opportunity to create a webinar series based on the book. And so we've been working our way through the chapters. I think this is now number 14 in the series. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. Down the bottom, you'll see there's a Q&A button, and you can also type in the chat, and I'll look out for questions. So if you do have a question that you want answered, please put that in there, and I will get to it as we move through. Good morning to Rhiannon, I see there, Robert and Jim and Jamie. So as we move through, please do ask questions if you have them. As I said, this is one of a series, and this is where we're coming right to the end now. We've only got 2 more of these to go. And this morning, I am very pleased to say that we have Terry Skene, who wrote one of the chapters in the book, joining us. Terry has a very long history with Logan, and probably, you know, one of the Logan legends, if not the Logan legend, you'd have to say. Some of the things that he's done, from business awards through to the founding director of the Logan Community Bank, board member of the Logan Office of Economic Development, and of course Kingston Park Raceway, not to mention the Spirit of Logan race team back in 1994. Terry, are you there for me?
Good morning, Stuart. How are you this morning?
I am fantastic. So glad to have you with us this morning. When we put together this book, we were looking out to the legends of Logan and say, right, what is it that the Chamber has had? Who have we had come past, and who could we lean on for some guidance and experience? And I must say, your name was pretty much top of the list, Terry. The stuff that you've done is absolutely amazing. But you've not stopped, is that right?
Oh, you don't stop. You don't stop living, mate. You don't stop planning. It's all about just what's next, what's coming my way.
Yep. So one of the things that you put into your chapter was talking about that, you know, finding the right time, the right opportunity. And when you created your race team, for you, what led up to that? Like, why was that the right time for that particular venture?
You know, Stuart, that's a really good story, because obviously I'm from a motoring background and a racing background, and I was fortunate enough to be running with a team that was run by Joe Aguirre and Phil Brock, and we had junior Brock team, if you like to call it that, in Brisbane, and it was called the Brock Shop at Logan. And great times for all the boys. And I often get comments from the local boys from 30 years ago. We used to race in the 90s, and all still great mates. So back then we were racing and doing our thing, and we wanted to be the boys from Logan that could take it to the big end of town.
Yep.
So we wanted to go to Bathurst. Now, it takes a lot of work, and let me tell you something about Bathurst. There's more tears than there is smiles. All right, there's a lot of work goes into a small bit of success. But one thing it brought out was that we had the determination to be there, and we went back 3 times.
Yeah, wow.
Yep, Spirit of Logan. We invested some great people in it. Mayor Rod Gollidge bought in and brought the city along with us. We had got 30 businesses to all put a small amount of money in each. Yep. And we managed to turn up at Bathurst with about $45,000, which is a pittance compared to the other teams that were there.
Yeah.
We turned up with a car and a trailer. Everyone else had trucks and vans. And of course, we had a team of about 30 people. It was a holiday for most, and hard work for a few. We enlisted some great knowledge. And we went there in the first year. We bought a car from a fellow by the name of Ian Palmer. Now, Ian Palmer is a great local guy, and his Palmer Tube Mills was his family business. But Ian was on his own doing carpentry, and we bought his car.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot in the first year. But what we really got out of it was spirit of Logan, right?
Yep.
We showed what we were made of. And we didn't do well the first year. I think we ended up about 40th. We finished, and we were proud of that. But we finished, and we went back with a lot more knowledge the second year. And we bought a car the second year that belonged to a guy called Kent Ewen. And Kent Ewen had won the previous year of production cars. So we went from working out how the game was played.
Yep.
And we bought the winning car, went there, and Chris Madden and I drove that car. David Gardner was the team CEO at the time. Cameron Fisher was the team manager, and we had a great time. And we were running very well. In fact, we were running 6 hours into the 12-hour race in ninth position, and the only cars in front of us were Lamborghinis and Ferraris and RX-7s. We had a bit of a mishap. And in fact, we were 2 laps in front of Dick Johnson at the 6-hour mark, forward back. And do you want me to hear my sad story now about motor racing?
Go on.
So the car caught fire in the boot, and we lost, I think, 4 or 5 laps. Came home 17th, finished the race.
Yep.
But a great achievement for Spirit of Logan, and we all came out very proud of that achievement.
So the Spirit of Logan, putting that together, that was based on all of the people you knew in the Brock shop and pulling the business community together.
Moss Street.
Yeah.
Moss Street came together. You know, we had people that were side by side that hardly knew each other, and all of a sudden we had a common interest.
Yeah.
And they all got newsletters and emails, and we got phone calls galore. The guys, they all got involved.
Nice.
We had radiator shops and electrical workshops, mechanical workshops, engineering shops, all doing little bits and pieces.
Yep.
It was a great time, mate. Moss Street came alive.
So that you said you went down 3 years. Why was it only 3? What happened that you didn't go down a 4th time?
I think there's a lot to that question. Money's number 1. Time and commitment's number 2.
Yep.
Because you'll spend 6 months getting ready to do that race. And of course, with a team the size that we had, it's very hard to keep that team together.
Yep.
So, you'll keep the core together, but there's a lot of work. And I think we'd achieved what we set out to achieve. And it's like any mountain. When you get to the top of the mountain, you go looking for new adventures.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Rocky's Auto Rental.
Oh, you got some history.
I've got some history, mate. I am reaching back because it really is. We are in a time right now that is the perfect time for something, for sure. Like there are opportunities right now that have never been around. And that's what I'm trying to tap into. When you started Rocky's Auto Rentals, for you, that was at the right time. What were you seeing in the market that you went, this is what I'm going to do next?
Okay. Well, this is a story, Stuart. You didn't expect this answer. I was in the motor trade, right?
Yep.
And I'll go back a little bit. In 77, I worked for Alex Holmes Ford in Beenleigh.
Yep.
So I was a carpenter by trade and had an accident and kept having a reoccurring sore back. Just going 19, I think, or 20. And I knocked on the door at Alex Holmes Ford and said, I'd like to learn to be a professional. And they were the most professional in our Logan area in those days. Them and Midway's Holden, which you'd know as Motorama.
Yep.
And then, of course, Graham Oldman had Old Mac.
Right.
So they were the early days. And I went and saw Alex, and Alex said, yeah, we'll give you a run. So I went down there and screwed mud flaps and number plates and used to drive the RACQ tow truck and just got to know the business. Worked with a very professional man by the name of Adrian Christopher. Now, Adrian, out of Beenleigh, this is where location is one thing, but dedication is a completely different thing. I worked with a guy out of Beenleigh that was the #1 Ford salesman in Australia, in 1978, 79, because he was a fleet salesman, personality plus, and we used to call him Ace, Adrian Christopher Esquire, and he's still with us today, living on the Gold Coast. G'day, Adrian. And anyway, so he showed us, or me particularly, about the business of selling cars. So we're going to the cars. Alex then wanted to go to get location. Now, this is about location.
Yeah.
So he wanted to get out of Beenleigh and he wanted to go to somewhere where he could be seen. So he bought some land up at Springwood, where we know Q Ford is today.
Yep.
And so he built that little dealership with a caravan, some coppers logs, and a bunch of cars, and we put it together back in the late 70s, and that went together well. And then he sold it later on, became Q Ford, and Fields bought that business, as we all know.
Yep.
And it went on to bigger and greater things, and it's well established now. So anyway, so that was a part of my life, and of course, like I said, some of us are like this, Stuart. And the thing that I need is a challenge.
Yep.
As soon as it gets easy, I tend to lose attention. And once I'd done the car thing for the boss for a few years, I thought I can do this myself. So then I bought some land down on the Pacific Highway, which is where Rocky's Auto Rentals is.
Yep.
Now, this is my logic at the age of 24 when I'm buying a block of land that's 3 times the value of my home at the time. Went home and told the wife we're going to go into debt because she thought I was crazy. But things were going pretty well. So we bought this block of land for just over $100,000 down on the Pacific Highway. It was surrounded by palm trees.
Yep.
Across the road was, I think, Cades County Water Slide.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it was pre-McDonald's at Logan Home.
Yep.
So that's where I'm back a bit. I mean, we saw the Lion Park exist.
Yes, yes.
So there you give some idea of the timing. So when we went there, it was all about location because everyone knows about Parramatta Road in Sydney. If you're in the motor trade,
yep,
then Parramatta Road was the strip you needed to be on. Right? So I'm a big believer in exposure. That's why people pay $11,000 a month to have a sign on the motorway.
Yeah.
You know, when you're going to build a brand, you've got to build recognition with that brand. And we'll talk about that, I'm sure, a little bit later on. But I was very early days recognising the fact that you needed exposure, you needed to build a brand, you needed to be there to be seen. So we bought that block of land, we sold cars. Now, that little car yard that we ran, and we're only late 20s at that age, yep, was one of the 5th largest used car sales yards in Queensland in the mid-late 80s.
Wow. We
were selling 60 cars a month out of there. There was Terry Good up on Crompton Road. He was about number 4. There was John O'Carney at Logan in Kingston Road there, you know, JOK cars. Yep. Johnny was there. He was about number 3. And he might have been number 2 on occasion. John was a good operator. And it was in the days when we would sell cars and just turn them out. Just turn them out. If someone didn't like the car, you'd put it back in the shed, give them another one. They got blue, they wanted red, you'd swap it for red. You know, it was all about just making people happy and rolling them out the door. Yeah, yeah. And there was, if you wanted a Ford, there was 20 Fords. If you wanted a Holden, there was 20 Holdens. Yeah. You know, and it was sausage factory car sales. It wouldn't work today. It's a different world. But they were cheap back then too. You know, you're buying cars for $4,000. They were in really good condition, air, steer, windows, a lot. Yep. So obviously the price was right. So anyway, I was doing that for a while. And then we started a business and we were actually had people in Logan. Now this is interesting. This must have been where I think my community bone started to grow because people come in and couldn't buy a car and they needed a car. They couldn't get finance and they needed finance. So we started selling cars to people on $75 a week and they could pay it off. Yep. So that went and went and went and it started taking over my business. So I had to separate the car business from the assisting people to get cars for short-term loans, you know? Yep. So we did that for quite a while. And a young man by the name of Chris Curtis came along and he ended up running it for us. And look, in those days, we had like 100, 150 cars coming and going. Yeah. It's amazing. And then from that, I'd done the car thing. And I thought, you know what we should be doing? We should be renting cars. So now we're at the Rocky stage. Yeah. All right. So I bought the block of land next door, and which was an old house, and filled the swimming pool in, and one thing led to another. And I met an old Logan legend called Ray Vincent. Yep. Now, Ray Vincent's nickname was Vinny, because Vinny would sell anything. Yeah. Right? He did sell anything, Raymond. He now owns Bestbrook up the way to Warwick. Right. Okay. Up with his lovely wife Elise, and and so they're up there nowadays, and anyone that goes past there is always welcome. Ray's a lovely bloke. Yeah. Very hospitable. So Ray says to me, you know what, I'm over rental cars, and I have a few cars I want to get rid of, so we swapped. We virtually swapped a business for cars. Wow. Okay. So I ended up in the rental car business. And then once we got into the rental car business, I guess my roots kicked in. I thought I could do this better. So we went and bought some trucks and we went and bought some utes. We ended up with 70 or 80 odd cars in the fleet.
Yep.
And then that led to a lot of business in the airport. A lot of business in the airport. Once again, that location, we're on the highway.
Yep.
People came back to us once every 2, 3 or 4 or 5 years. And the reason they came back is because we were there, we were constant.
Yep.
We didn't move and we were visual.
Yeah.
Works.
You've got to be seen, haven't you? Don't you?
Ah.
You've got to, people have got to, if you can overcome that hurdle of being seen, it's one of the major hurdles I see in a lot of businesses, that nobody knows they exist.
Some of the best kept secrets are in Logan. Some great businesses that just don't talk about themselves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chatter out there, and it's a very busy world in the social media world, and standout's difficult.
Yeah.
Work hard at it, and you get lucky.
So how did you get the Rockies Auto Rentals to stand out? What were some of the things that you did?
Well, we were the competition to the big guys. In fact, the big guys, we were doing so well at one stage, they tried the lockers out of the airport. So I threatened to take the airport to the ACCC because they weren't giving us a fair crack. Avis, Thrifty, Hertz, all locked us out. Not just me, but Able Rent a Car. They locked out all the small operators.
Yep.
So we went to the airport and said, this is what we think you're doing wrong. And in those days, they were Dutch owners. And we explained to them that if they gave us a communal area next door to Hertz and Budget and all them, where we could drop and pick off cars, we could work within their rules. So it took a little bit of negotiation. This took probably 12 months. And we ended up with a non-franchise rental car arrangement.
That is so cool. Because they've actually done that. I see now with the Ubers and Didis and all that sort of stuff. They've basically so what year was this? This would have been what?
Late 80s?
Late 80s. You were doing stuff that Uber and stuff are doing now, creating communal spaces at the airport because it just works.
Yeah, exactly. And people working together. See, that's the secret. I mean, they did all sorts of things. We used to take keys to the information booth and drop the keys in an envelope for Mrs. Smith coming in from Singapore. Yep. Right? So, and then Mrs. Smith had turned up and the keys were gone because someone from another franchise had gone and moved the keys, and it was different. All sorts of games.
Yeah.
It was state of origin, but at a different level, us versus them.
Yeah.
So the car rental was good. So we ended up needing a city office. Our city office, initially, you're like this, was Ann Street. So we looked around, where would you like to be in the city that's central, well located? We got the corner of Ann Street where Mercedes-Benz were.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's all about the neighbours, isn't it? They look good, we look good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's association by, credibility. So credibility by association, sorry. Just up the road was BMW. Yep. So we were there for many years, and then, they talked about widening Ann Street. They widened Ann Street, and we moved up to Albion.
Okay,
up near the Five Ways.
Yep.
And then they built the overpass through Albion and moved us again. So for all those things in a location, one of the downfalls of location is everybody wants it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, and we ended up at that stage. We were looking at another phase of our lives. I was about 40 then, 39, 40.
Yep. And
that was when the idea of motor racing as my hobby and motor racing as my living started to take more presence.
Yep.
So I'm turning 40. I'm sitting in the city. I'm about to be paid out by Brisbane City Council. Another 12-month negotiation.
Yep.
These bureaucrats have a long time to make very little decisions, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They take a while. He won maternity leave. He went on sick leave. he was on 9-day fortnights and holidays.
Yeah.
So eventually we come to a number, and I moved out of there. And we then went back to Logan, and the young couple that were working for us in Logan, we actually sold them, gave them the business. We sold the cars to the auctions that they didn't want. Yep. We gave them the business, and they eventually moved out of our property down to Beenleigh.
Yeah.
Now, here's the trap for young players. When we gave them the business, all we wanted for them to do was continue renting our land, and we would have been happy.
Yep.
They couldn't afford the rent, in their opinion, so they moved out. Along comes Andy's car and truck rental,
Yep.
who moved into our yard and immediately buy without any cash. But just by the fact of being there,
Yep.
they buy all the credibility, all the branding, all the goodwill that
Yep.
came with that business being on that property for 10 years.
Because all the clients know that you're there, so they keep coming back there.
And they
So
they just say, why'd you change your name?
Yeah, why'd you change your name? That's right.
So we've gone, Andy's got the benefit of that, and young Kevin and Michael across, they're not far from me, they moved across the road now,
Yeah.
to the other side of the highway, bought their own block of land. They just said to me, what you're doing makes perfect sense, Terry. We're going to buy a block of land, we're going to work hard, we're going to pay it off, and we're going to build our business just like you did.
Yeah.
Good on them. You can't get angry at somebody who's learnt the lessons of life.
Yes.
So they've done that, and they're still there today doing exceptionally well. Run a great business.
Yeah.
So Andy's is a way now. So I'm now out of car rental, got a property on the highway which is rented. Now, if ever you could buy a property and over a period of 10 or 15 years pay it off, that is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Most dealers, most car dealers, most open-air display yards, boats, caravans, whatever, they buy property so they can pay it off because that's the long-term goal. You want to retire one day and your superannuation is your property.
Yep.
Right? And no lessons in that, that's fact. Right? So we go from there. I love motorsport. A mate of mine called Peter Black, who owned Bob Jane Tyres at Springwood. Peter says to me, I'm thinking of opening a go-kart track at Logan, but don't have the money, don't have the nous, don't have the know-how. Thoughts, please. So I went out and had a look with him. By this stage, he'd put a wire fence around it and started laying bitumen, and that was about where it got to.
Yeah.
He had a plan. He had a vision, not a plan. Is that what's right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's
he had
it.
a vision, not a plan. So we looked at all this and started putting together. Now, a go-kart track is just a go-kart track. What I had in mind, and that my experiences through the chamber and through my times with the community bank, and I did a bit of work too with Logan Economic Development. So I've had a lot to do with our community, and I saw a lot of the opportunities that came and went because people didn't put the hard work in.
Yeah.
Hard work, it's cheap. Hard work is cheap, people, but it takes a lot, right? So you've got to commit to it. You can have a mum and dad business, you can have a weekend business. Mine was a 100-hour-a-week commitment, but it's paid off. And so we went in there with the idea of building a small family park. So Kingston Park Raceway is Kingston Park. It's a shorter version of it.
Yep.
And we went in with the idea that when Dad goes go-karting, the kids can go go-karting, Mum can drink a coffee, sit on the hill, enjoy the view. The kids can go after the go-karting into the party rooms,
Yep.
go and play. So it was a whole venue for family entertainment. You could bring your own food. You could cook your own barbecues.
Nice.
We looked at our community and went, we don't need to rape and pillage this. We need to become a part of it.
Yeah.
And how are we going to dovetail ourselves into this community? That's what it was about, and it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed. If you lose focus on that, then you sort of lose your way. It's like a ship without a captain. It's always been that we wanted to be part of Mum and Dad's parties, the kids' parties. I love it, you know, Stuart. I get a kid come in and he's not a kid anymore, he's 28. And he walks in and his name's John. I said, John, how you going? He said, I remember you. I said, oh, yeah. He said, you did my 12th birthday and my 8th birthday. And I go, oh, I must
That's
be getting
awesome.
old. But there was so much of that.
Yeah.
And then that 28-year-old, he had his 9-year-old or 7-year-old son with him.
Yeah.
You know, and that we feel really, really privileged and proud to be a part of, I guess, the Logan legacy, because we are part of Logan growing up.
Yeah.
We've seen it grow up. We've grown with it.
What was the competition like when you started Kingston Park Raceway? What was the competition? What else could you do in Logan?
Collect hubcaps. Well, as kids, we did a few things.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, Logan was nowhere. Logan was where you lived, but not where you played.
Yep.
And that was a challenge. So there's a lot of traffic to the Gold Coast. In fact, one of our biggest issues is exactly that my customer base is more north side and to Mount North than actually is Logan.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's a little bit, people have got to understand how that works. If you create a venue like ours, like a destination, because it's always there, you'll go there one day, not today.
Yep.
All right? So
100%.
That's the challenge, all right? So we recognise that only probably we've been going 24 years this year. And about 4 or 5 years ago, we started looking really hard at who and what we were. And we realised that we had to continually do the Coles and Myers and Woolies thing and have specials and offers and brought that into the business in a more dynamic way.
Yep.
This weekend coming, Echo Week, we've got the non-Echo weekend.
Yep.
Because it's topical and people will recognise with it, they'll associate with it and just tweak their attention. I think probably the best thing I can tell you is yellow cars, right, or red jackets. All right, you don't notice them until you want one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go buy one.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is that if I advertise party, until you've got your son's party or it's 21st or whatever party you're about to have, you don't even hear my ads until you go, I need a party. And then it works.
You've been really consistent with your ads. I remember years and years and years, Kingston Park Raceway, the ads are just, I could almost, I can hear it in my head from years and years of just being programmed. And I think that's another fantastic point is that not only do you have to be seen, you have to be consistently seen. And I see that's kind of what you were saying about Rockies and Andy's moving in is they took over that consistency, that goodwill that had been built up for that location. Yeah. I'm getting comments. Those ads were brilliant. Yeah, you did great ads.
What was the slogan on the end?
Sorry.
What was the slogan on the end? I can ask every school kid this question. It's a hell of a day out.
It's a hell of a day out. Great day out, Jackie Thompson says. A hell of a day out. Yeah. It does. It gets into your brain, and it's that sort of. You're right. When then you go thinking about, oh, what can we do? Oh yeah, let's go. And it's not that you're always thinking about it. It's there when you want it.
Consistency is important. We have a thing about our place. We open it this time and we close it this time. We don't close early because it's quiet.
Yep.
And we really don't close early unless it's pouring with rain. We'll still be there for the one customer that's going to come in and grab a flyer for the party that's going to be in 2 months' time.
Yeah.
All of that. Coffee shops. And if I had a coffee shop, consistency is number one, I think. Quality and consistency. The corner that you could be in a great spot, but if you don't, and I think the great thing here is whatever you're doing, love what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're working hard at it, you're in the wrong industry.
Yeah. So we've got coronavirus. We're coming to the end now, and it's been fabulous just going back into the days of Logan and looking at it. But we're not there now. This is not the times of the 70s or the 80s, even the 90s, 2000s. From March this year, things started to change. And from what I've seen around, there are a lot of Logan businesses. We had the ABC come down and do an interview with me and trying to tell me all the businesses that are failing. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, we had maybe 2 go under, but we have a lot more in Logan that are absolutely killing it. They've seen the opportunity that is COVID and sitting at home and actually, thinking about what you really want to do and then going out and doing it hard. Are you seeing that as opportunities in the businesses that you connect with?
120%.
Yeah.
I say that. When we sat at home for 3 months, we worked harder in that 3 months than I think I probably worked for 3 years.
Yeah, right.
We stripped our business. We stripped it. We went through everything we did. We now went to completely online purchases now. And over the school holidays, we were sold at 96% over the school holidays. Now, I can be honest with you, August is not as good as June, July.
Yep.
Because some silly girls did some silly things which I understand don't even live in Logan. I understand they live elsewhere.
Yep.
But Logan copped it. That's all about the spirit of Logan thing that we did years ago. You know, trying to tell some good stories out of Logan because, goodness me, we get branded with some bad ones quick, don't we?
We do. We sure do. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've changed our business. We're online now. Buy it online. Turn up, scan in the track. Right. People are loving it because we're no longer in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. We are in the year 2020, and we want speed and efficiency now. Yep. And that includes how we purchase.
And I think, you know, we look at what's going on in New South Wales and in particular in Victoria, where they're really suffering down there. We in Logan are living in one of the fastest growing cities in Australia, if not the fastest growing city in Australia. We are perfectly placed in terms of transportation and ports and airports. We have a fantastic base of knowledge because we have a lot of migrants coming into the city who are really bright because they don't let out anybody in, just anybody in. The Australian government makes sure people that are coming in are actually quite bright. Because I've had engineers working in really low paid jobs because they haven't had their education recognised yet.
Yeah.
So we have this great opportunity, and then COVID comes, and I think if you had to start a business anywhere in Australia at any time in the last 20 years, Logan right today would be the place. And I actually have seen, and when ABC said, tell us all the woe stories, I'm like, well, I know 2 businesses that opened up last week, opened their doors for the first time because they saw this as the opportunity to get out the door and do something slightly different and do something well.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And that's that spirit of Logan. You know, we can look at adversity and say, you know, we can cop this because we're already doing it tough.
One of the things I think we needed to all do was probably toughen up a little. There's a lot of businesses out there were doing what they were always doing, guilty, and and you had to think about what you were doing. So we didn't just redesign our purchase process; we redesigned the way we operate. We changed to 2-hour sections. We didn't no longer do random all day long. We altered our staff, mate. We had to get less staff, become more productive.
Yep. Put
in better gear, offer better facilities. Everyone's doing it. So I think we're going to be a meaner. What's the saying? Maybe it's a slimmer business, slimmer, meaner, and well tuned.
Yeah.
We're going to be on the high end of getting productivity out of the place. That's how it works.
And I think it really is a great opportunity right now, as we were saying, to start being visible, which is the big lesson I take away from yourself. You know, you have been so consistently visible, and every business that you've done, you can see it, and you don't pay extra for that. You've set it up in the right location so that you can be seen. If you are in a location that can't be seen, work out how you're going to sort that out because you need to be seen. You don't want to be the best kept secret in Logan.
You want to be seen, you're either on the main drag, all of those main highways, roads, or you pay the money and you radio TV.
Yep.
Social media works, but that's a very busy avenue, isn't it? Everyone's out
very
there.
much so, yeah.
And you have to be really special. And have you ever looked at the Instagram ads that are being watched? They are full-on TVC productions.
Yeah, they're very high production values.
Yeah. And so that's, as much as people think that I can do that, I think that's a very competitive market.
Very competitive, but it's like all markets. If it works, it's going to be competitive, and I don't shy away from it. But just work out how you're going to do it consistently, and within the stuff that you've done, you can maintain it, so you don't sort of stretch yourself beyond what you can possibly maintain. Because, as you say, you've got to be in it for the long haul.
I'm no road scholar, but I'll tell you what, I've watched a few people that are, and that's a cheap way to learn.
Yep.
McDonald's advertise one thing at a time, consistently their hamburgers.
Yep.
But they advertise a cheeseburger or a Big Mac or whatever, but they don't mix the message.
Yep.
They get one message out at a time. Bob Jane Tyres back in the 90s decided that they were doing too much mechanical and not enough tyres, that the franchisees were getting confused. You've got to keep the main thing, and keep the message.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there, Terry. It's been fabulous having you on. You got any last tips you'd give? If it was one tip you could walk away with, what would you leave us with?
Well, because of my age, all right, and because everyone's different, I think you must start with the end in mind. Whatever you're doing when you're 30, when you've got your business and you're fired up, have an exit strategy and know where you're going to end up. All right? That's nice. For what it's worth.
I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for contributing to the book, and thank you for all that you've done for Logan. You know, over the years, you have done so much for the city, and I know you've got accolades and all the rest of it, but just from the Chamber of Commerce and from me personally, thank you so much for all that you've done. It really is, reading through what you've done and seeing your legacy, it really is quite amazing. So thank you very much.
Well, it's been an amazing ride, but it's not over yet.
Yeah, awesome. For a hell of a day out, get to Kingston Park Raceway. All right, so this is the Business to Business webinar series. As I said at the start, this is a series based on a book compiled by the very fabulous Jackie Thompson, who does great work, and she's managed to herd some cats together. I think I saw her on before. Yep, there she is. Thank you very much, Jackie. We said that the 12th, that's today. We actually, I'm trying to coordinate with Tom Potter to get Tom Potter to come on and talk about his thoughts around franchising. And then we're going to have, as we said, the committee has decided we should do one more and sum up and wrap up the whole series. So there will be 2 more in the series, and then we'll move on. If you haven't signed up for Golf Day is coming up. The tickets are on sale now. You can either just come to the breakfast, or you can come along for just the Golf Day, or can come for both. So that is in September, on the 11th of September. Tickets are on sale. If you go to loganchamber.com.au, you can get your tickets there. Finally, I will say that the brain just went blank. What was I going to say? Don't you hate it when you're going live and you're trying to wrap up? Chamber, the chamber. And there's an art union as well. Jim is reminding me. That's right. That's not what I was going to say, but there is an art union as well, and there's a great prize there. So if you can't come to the breakfast and you can't play golf, jump on and buy an art union ticket. Now, the reason that we're running all of this, the whole Golf Day, is to raise money, because when COVID hit and all the kids had to start working from home, we found out that about 20% of children in Logan don't have a computer at home. And so we're working with YFS and Substation 33 to cross the digital divide. And what that means is that we are, for every $100 raised, we will be putting a computer with training into a home in Logan. Now, this is a really great cause. We want as many people to come and play golf, but we also want to give away as many computers, or provide funding for as many computers as possible to help Tony and the guys at Substation 33 cross the digital divide. What I was going to say is that the chamber membership is still on hiatus. You still have the opportunity to join free. So if anyone's not a member of the chamber, make sure you go and check out the chamber membership. If you send an email to membership@loganchamber.com.au, the subject free membership, we'll get you sorted out. We are getting very close to our 200th member, and we're going to make a big deal about that. So if you're not a member, please join. That's it for us. We will catch up with you next week. Stay safe, have a great time, and be alert but not alarmed. That's where we are here in Logan at the moment. We are alert but not alarmed, because we are starting to wind back some COVID stuff, but keep an eye out and stay safe.